Hello, my name is Dale Adams of Planning Ahead of Time, and today I'm speaking with Isabel. Isabel, it's our second chat, but would you like to introduce yourself again?
Yes, I will. I am Isabel Lockhart and I am a family celebrant all the way from Aberdeenshire.
We found last time that we could have just talked for hours and hours, so decided that we'd do a second one because you yourself have had a lot of grief and really felt that there's a lot of burden on the family, and I know that you wanted to speak about that.
Yes, I do. So in my lifetime, three generations of my family have died. So that's my mother, my brother, and my son. And with each person, we had no idea what their funeral wishes were, including did they even want a funeral? And it's quite a heavy burden to sit on your shoulders when all you want to do is basically sit and cry. And you've got all these decisions that you have to make about choosing coffins, flowers. And back in the day when my mum died in 1996, it was the minister that was automatically allocated to you. You had to think about hymns. My mum wasn't even religious. So did we get it right? I doubt
Go
it.
with the hymns? Did you go with what you were expected to do?
Yes. And that's the thing. It's an expectation that's put on you. The way I describe it is organising a funeral. It's a bit like going to Curry's to buy a washing machine. So you go into Curry's and they'll show you their Indosets, their Bosch, their Whirlpool, whatever make it is. And that's all that they can offer you. And it's very similar with funeral directors. And it feels like catalogue shopping because you're literally looking through catalogues of flowers, catalogues of coffins, and you've got all these decisions to make when your heart is breaking. And if all these funeral plans are made ahead of time and you've chosen your coffin, so you're not sitting looking through a catalogue, do you even want flowers? I officiated a funeral when they had leeks on the coffin because the deceased was Welsh. It suited him and his personality.
Well,
And you don't actually have to have a funeral. That's the other thing. A lot of people think a funeral is a legal obligation. It's not. You don't have to have one. You must dispose of the body, but you don't have to have a funeral.
there's some amazing coffins around now, isn't there? And I mean, I actually went to a coffin club meeting where it's all about, again, wanting to actually create your own coffin. And I've seen coffins that actually are bookcases until they're required to be a coffin. And
I've got a flat pack coffin under my stairs, and that was bought as a prop for Coffin Club because I founded Coffin Club Aberdeenshire West. But it wasn't well attended and it wasn't well received. So I'm trying to think of another way to introduce it. And I thought maybe pop-up shops in my coffin, maybe. Who knows?
I can imagine you doing that local shopping centre. Stand.
Yeah,
Well, it would certainly get some attention.
it would indeed.
So with your mum, obviously that was the approach that was taken back then, which is following the advice of the minister.
Hmm.
How did they differ after that?
So, Mum's, yes, that the minister came round and listened to the story. The funeral director actually came to the house with my brother and my son. We had to go to the office, and I don't know when that flipped. With my mum's death, it was also had to choose a shroud for her to wear. Well, nowadays you can wear whatever you want or go out start naked, as I am requesting. I came into this world naked, I'll go out naked.
It's
There is more,
a hard decision picking what somebody should wear. I had a
yes.
I had a conversation with somebody about it recently where the son was expected just go, and he was only ever so young, and go and find the outfit for his mom to wear. And
Mhm.
you think, and she died very suddenly, very unexpectedly. And that was the position that he was put in. And I know with my mom, I picked an outfit from a photograph that we've got where we're all together as a family. And I really love the photograph. And therefore I chose the outfit that she's wearing within that photograph. But as you say, I've never even considered the fact that somebody could just say, well, send me out naked.
Mhm. For my son, we chose his Aberdeen Football Club shirt. a pair of jeans that he was really fond of, and his coffin was actually painted in the Aberdeen Football Club colours with the logo on it as well, because well, he was a shareholder and a season ticket holder, although he wasn't impressed with how they were playing at the time. But yeah, you can wear anything or nothing. A question that I ask people that to start the conversation is, if you were to die today, do your loved ones know what your wishes are? And 9 times out of 10, they say no. And I think one of the issues is, especially if you ask somebody who's in their 20s or 30s, they think, oh, I don't need to think of that for years and years and years. Tomorrow's not a given, it's not promised. Ben was 30 when he died. And he lived with a life-limiting condition, but anytime I approached the subject, he would just say, oh, not yet, Mum, I'm not ready.
Okay, so even though he had a condition that he knew would end his life sooner, he still consider it and think,
Yes.
yeah. I think to me, you saying, 9 out of 10 people wouldn't know, their loved ones wouldn't know what they wanted. I actually think an awful lot of people don't know what they want, let alone disclosing that to loved ones who need to know. I had somebody once who said she wanted to be cremated or buried, but she didn't want her children to have the responsibility of making the decision.
Yeah. And I think that's why we need to normalize these conversations. People won't think about it because they don't know how to, they don't know what's out there, they don't know who to speak with.
I also
There
think
was
they expect it to be a morbid conversation. And when you're talking to you, and often people with me, I mean, people say to me, why do you smile so much? When I'm talking about death, and it's, well, it is a normal subject to me. And I don't want it to be morbid every time I speak about it. I want to actually have it that I'm sort of smiling and chatting about it, because that enables people to have the conversation and not feel so stressed about it, really.
And that is so true. I have done funeral planning with some people, and we've got all our wishes down. And one of them said to me, I never thought this would be so much fun. And it is. I mean, we even went into the funeral tea. And I said, what do you want to have served at your funeral tea? And she went, I don't want curly edge sandwiches. And she sat and she thought, and she says, you know what? I love a pie and a pint. Let's have pies and pints be on the menu. And cake, she says, and not tiny wee slivers, great big slabs of cake. And I says, right, let's get that done. So we did.
It's amazing, really, that what people do actually want if they're given the opportunity to think about it. And some of that comes from creating the safe space for them to think about it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's allowing the conversations to flow and not being judged by what they might think. Everybody's got different beliefs. You get spiritual, religious, atheist, agnostic, whatever it is. And it's giving them that platform to explore as well. A lot of people, you say, oh, I just want to leave my body to science. But what they don't realize is that's a massive process to go through before you die, because not all bodies donated to science will be accepted. So you still have to make your funeral arrangements as well.
Okay. I don't know anything particularly about that, to be honest, Isabel. So if there's anything you can share, then please do, because I don't know much about it.
Well, up in Aberdeen, Aberdeenshire, you'd go to Aberdeen University and they've got a department that specialises in that. And so you pre-plan it, on my death, this is what I want to happen. But when you die, if they've got enough cadavers and they don't need any more, they won't accept your body, or maybe they've got too many that's got one condition. But this is something that I just found out last month when I officiated a funeral. You can donate your brain to Parkinson's research. It's called the Parkinson's Brain Bank, whether you've got Parkinson's or not.
Yeah.
That was new to me. There's so many things that you can do, but all of these things, they must be planned before your demise. It's not enough just to have it in your will. They've got to be planned.
I think often it's not enough just to have it in your will. Not just with this, but with so many things, because the will isn't always the first thing that people turn to when somebody dies.
That's true. That's very true. Take my mum as an example. It was the 21st of December she died, and so her will was held at the solicitors, and actually trying to get the solicitor at that time of year was difficult. And we were trying to find out if she had any funeral wishes in her will, and she didn't. So the only thing that we all knew was that she wanted to be cremated and she wanted her ashes to be interred where her parents were, and that was it. We didn't know. And back in 1996, I don't know if there was an alternate to having a minister. Don't know if celebrancy had landed in these shores yet. But now you've got a choice of religious, humanist, celebrant-led, family-led, or no funeral at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of options now. And I know people that I've been speaking to who do bounce between different options as well. They started off very adamantly that they were going to be cremated, and now they're looking at potentially natural burials. And they're looking at the natural burial sites to consider, is this the right environment for them? Is this what they would want? So you can literally go and have a look at exactly where you might be in a beautiful forest environment.
Yeah, I sometimes think we give more attention to buying a new car than we do thinking about our funerals.
Oh, I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree with that. And yet, so obviously you had your mother, and then you've also stated that your brother and your son. So again, 3 generations, which would imply that there would be 3 different styles of funeral as well, based on age.
Yeah, so my brother, he died when he was 50. That was 2011. And again, here, this is why it's important to get your funeral wishes down. So my brother, we're all born in Aberdeen. So he lived in Aberdeen till he was 18, and then he went to university in Edinburgh. He moved around a bit. But the majority of his life he spent living in Glasgow. He died in Glasgow. He worked in Glasgow. He got married in Glasgow. He got divorced in Glasgow. And we took his body back to Aberdeen for his funeral, which wasn't well attended because his life was in Glasgow. And in hindsight, I remember thinking we should never have done that. We should have been the ones travelling down to Glasgow for his funeral, not the other way around. But Alan used to joke after my mum died. He says, "Oh, when I die, just stick him in a skip." And had that been legal, we would have, because that was what he wanted. But in reality, you can't do that. And if he had his funeral wishes written down, if he wanted buried, cremated, where he wanted the venue to be, and you're not stuck with a chapel or a church. I've officiated a funeral at a loch. I did a graveside one just a couple of weeks ago, and the deceased's coffin was transported in what you call the bucket of a digger.
I think
Because he was a digger driver all his life. That's what he did.
On Facebook. I think
I did.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. That was an amazing funeral, that.
Yeah. Well, how innovative.
Yes.
Very unique. People won't forget that easily, will they?
No. But he was dying. He got ill really quickly, and it was just like a matter of weeks from him getting admitted to hospital to him dying. And in that time, and he didn't have family, so it was like you call his chosen family, his friends, and he was telling them exactly, well, he told them what he wanted, but more importantly, he told them what he absolutely didn't want. And that was no minister, no religion. So that's what he got.
I think sometimes those conversations come about by funerals you attend. A lot of it is comments when somebody's been to one. I know that we'd had my mum's funeral. My dad then came back and said, "Oh, I wouldn't want that, but that was really nice. I didn't expect to have liked that." So you end up coming away, and some of the conversations are based around what you've just experienced. That's when people need to be writing it down.
Well, funnily enough, after that funeral, I generally don't go to funeral teas because I feel that that's the family time. But I knew Ian, and so it was easier for me to write his eulogy because I knew him. And so I went to the funeral tea, and people there were coming up to me and saying that was amazing. That's what I want for my funeral. And I was saying to them, you need to get this written down. And somebody's son was there and had shouted him over. And I said, listen to your mum. She's telling you what she wants for her funeral. And he was kind of a bit, aye, but. And she went, no, no, this is what I want. And I said, well, you sit down with Alan and you write it all down. So
Isn't
it's good that these conversations can happen. And it's good that they're organic and not forced.
But there's denial from both sides, isn't there? As you said, when your son was terminal, you tried to speak to him, but he sort of basically went into denial, didn't want to discuss it. And
Yeah.
then the other way around, you've got the mother trying to tell her son what she wants, and
Mhm.
he won't accept it. So I think, again, as you say, it's trying to normalize these conversations and make sure that it's okay to actually talk about the fact that we are all, at some point, we don't know when and we don't know how, going to die.
Yeah. Now, as they say at coffin clubs, speaking about pregnancy won't get you pregnant. Speaking about death won't make you die. Remember that lady that's videoed by Coffin Club and she says something towards the end, you know, that's my death sorted out. I can go on with living. And I think, yeah, it's a good attitude to have.
Yeah. So
Get
then
it all done.
with your son, obviously that was your brother. And again, you have some regrets. Maybe we should have known or sort of had different thoughts around how you carried out his funeral. What
Yeah.
about his son, if you don't mind me asking?
Because I'd been to so many funerals, because most of my life been in social care, and I'd left a lot of them thinking I could do better than that. So when it came to Ben's funeral, I knew what I didn't want. So I wrote his eulogy, but I didn't set out to write his eulogy. It's just the way it happened. The funeral, it was a collaboration between me, my sister, his dad, and his friend, his best friend Fraser. So choosing the coffin, I originally I was going to get a white cardboard coffin and just go and paint the red stripes on. But thanks to the funeral director, who I must say is excellent. I'm going to give him a shout out here. It's Mark Shaw Funeral Services in Aberdeen, and he is excellent. So he managed to organise the coffin to be professionally done, and it was wonderful. And because of his obsession, with Aberdeen Football Club, he wore his colours. His floral display was the Aberdeen Football Club logo again. Ben and I had been at a funeral years before of a young man who had died again because of cystic fibrosis. In the top of his coffin, he had his hoodie. He was famous for the hoodie he wore. And when we were there, Ben said to me, when I die, Mum, I want my guitar on my coffin. So that's what we did. We had his guitar in the coffin. His friend Fraser went and got another Aberdeen Football Club top printed up with his name on the back, so that was hanging on the side. So the music that it chose, I just went through Spotify playlist and went, oh, we'll have that, we'll have that, we'll have that. So it was very much with him in mind. The bad experience of that was the celebrant who consistently made mistakes when he was creating the script for the ceremony, and I had to be correcting him. And the attitude of, oh, I'm writing this on my phone in between appointments. It just added to the anxiety I was already experiencing. It was a really bad experience. And the worst was when he'd put a line in about donating to charity in Kenny's name. And all he'd been doing was copying and pasting from other ceremonies. So when I became a celebrant, that was my promise to me, my son, and all my clients. I never, ever copy and paste.
Wow, that's quite unbelievable. I mean, anybody in a service profession um, would, I just find that absolutely incredible. And to get something so crucially important wrong,
Yes.
as you say, if you could, if that was already happening in the run up to the funeral, then I can understand why that would add to your stress and anxiety. And what you want is somebody to be alleviating some of that, which again is why if you find a good celebrant, if you find somebody that you're actually in tune with, then you need to be letting somebody know that that's the
Yeah.
person you want, isn't it?
You need to feel safe. You need to feel held in that space. You need to be valued. and you need to be able to trust. And that was gone with that one email, that trust. I did not trust him to deliver a good ceremony, but he did. On the day he did. But I didn't see him before the ceremony, and I didn't see him after. He was just like a ghost that arrived and disappeared.
That's not a good experience for you. However, when we take something negative, we can make something positive, and that's absolutely what you've been doing with.
I had to make sense of it all and do something. But you know, all that funerals I'd been to, I was like, oh, I could do something better. I could do better than that. I thought, well, here's your opportunity. Do it better. And I do.
So if anybody wants to contact you, would you like to give out your contact details?
Yes, if you want to email me, it's isabel@legacycelebrant.org.uk, and it's ISABEL. Or you can WhatsApp text me on 07846 689 884, or find me on socials.
I will also put those details at the end of this chat. So thank you ever so much again, Isabel. I do know that we could carry on talking for hours, but we do need to stop here. But thank you so much again for your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. You should make it a monthly dead good conversation between Dale and Isabel.
We could just do that anyway, coffee and cake with it.
Absolutely.
Speak to you again soon.
Thank you.